Welcome back, builders. This week we're taking a look at a very cool nation, one of my favorites. This is Middle-Age Bandar Log, Land of the Apes. Let's get right down to brass tacks and find out how much for the ape. In the dense forests of the Bandar realm, apes of uncanny brightness have emerged. Under the influence of semi-divine beings, the apes have evolved intelligence and developed a culture. When the former rulers of Bandar Log returned to their celestial realms, the apes were left without leadership. A warlike, hierarchical society was formed, and the large Bandar apes at the top. But the influence of the former masters was not forgotten, and the blessed White Ones, who were gifted with higher intelligence and magical powers, were able to keep their influence and power. Bandar Log is divided society. Small markatas are at the bottom of society. Bandara apes of human size are the most common. Large Bandar apes rule most of the society and form the military. Sacred White Ones are trained as sages, priests, and holy warriors. This is a nation of a joining of two early era nations. We had Kailasa, who is probably most like this nation, but they have absorbed in the Lankan population also. So we have kind of a bit of medley between the two, and we have the magic of the two, and we have a little bit of a precursor to our late age version, Patala, in some of our summons. Taking a look at national features, for a race, we have apes, and we prefer heat scale of +2. Our military is made up of a multitude of missile weapons. We have light and medium infantry. We use elephants and sacred tiger riders. We also have a recruit anywhere sacred. For magic, we have really good astral, we have all right nature, and we have a bit of water, earth, and glamour. Our priests are weak, and this is a significant problem for us because we have a recruit anywhere sacred that we would quite like to have blessed. For scales and blesses, we get an order limit of +1 and a heat limit of +1. We build standard buildings of the age, which means castles. No bonuses or penalties to any of our infrastructure. For sites, we have one site. We have the Lotus Gardens. The Lotus Gardens allow us to get our cap-only mage, the Rishi, and allows us to recruit our cap-only sacred, the Tiger Rider. For gems, we get 2 nature, and we get 3 astral pearls. We would certainly like to expand this. We are a very, very gem-hungry nation, as you will see when we get to the magic section. Units and sacreds. We have a quite wide roster here, although we kind of have the I'm the same but slightly different theme going on that a few other nations that we've looked at recently have. But overall, I would say a decent roster with the unfortunate effect of we are monkeys. And that's going to be a problem for basically everything we have down here. Starting us off, we have the markata, can be recruited in all forests. And we come in 2 different forms. The base form costs 4 gold, a resource, and 3 recruitment points. So dirt cheap. Has 5 HP, 5 strength, okay defense at 14. That's actually true 14, no shield or anything here. Precision of 8, okay combat speed, really low morale at 7. For our base markata traits, we also have 4 survival, we are an animal, and we are undisciplined. Animal is particularly a problem. There are spells that specifically can target us, both buffs and penalties. Generally speaking, though, this is never a good thing. Our magic resistance is also super low at 7, so we are quite susceptible to some certain spells that target animals. For our equipment, we use a club with 10 attack and 8 damage, and we have sticks and stones that we throw. Now, that is based on your strength, so we can only throw it 5 squares. Frankly, this is pretty garbage. Why would you get some of these guys? These guys are great for catching lances. They will just throw themselves into the way of that knight and get killed by the lance, using up their lance, which could have dealt, 30 damage to something else, and it will kill 1 monkey instead. So a handful of these guys that are basically just there to leap in front whenever you have to fight cavalry is actually pretty decent. Low HP, so they're not going to cause HP routes particularly, although they will break and cause morale problems in that way. The second form is the Markata Archer. Again, dirt cheap, 4 gold, 2 resources, 3 recruitment points. Same chassis otherwise, same traits and everything. This guy's claim to fame, just like the first one, they're size 2, so you can actually have 5 of these in a square. If you were going to buff them, let's say with giant strength and with poison arrows, maybe that would be worthwhile. However, not only is this a short bow, it's a weak short bow. We don't even have the 10 strength that a human with a short bow would have, so our damage is quite bad on these. I'm not entranced with these. I think like a pygmy or something would be better. They also are not undisciplined, so I'm not a huge fan of these guys. I don't generally pick these up. If I want archers, I'm going to get some of the better stuff we have coming. The bright side is small and cheap for them. Moving up, we now have the Atavi Archer. These are the next cast. I believe these are the Vanara cast of monkeys. These are more human-like in stats and size. Size 3. This one in particular is the 7 gold, 3 resource, 3 recruitment point for a short bow. These are a lot better. Now we have double the strength of the previous one. They are also stealthy, for survival and animal. The stealthy gives them a niche where maybe you could have some guys running around with like a little stealth army. I don't know if they're really going to accomplish too much, but that at least gives them a vague use. I believe these are, can we recruit in any forest? So again, that's kind of a vague use that you can at least get some extra bows out just randomly from some forests that you own. They also are 3 resources for a short bow. So for short bows, that's actually really cheap, and that's because we have 0 armor. But, if you're going to be shooting into equally unarmored crossbows, let's say, this guy's costing you a lot less than a crossbowman. So if you trade 1-to-1, you're going to be really happy with these guys. Next up, we have the Atavi Infantry. This also can be recruited in any forest. 7 gold, 3 resources, 3 recruitment points. Same basic stats. I should mention 8 morale and 8 magic resistance. So slightly better than the markata, but not by much. I will note here that 10 strength and 10 precision makes their sticks and stones a lot better. Still not good, but a lot better. At least for this, you could have them say, hold and fire closest, and they can get a volley or 2 of stones off before they run into something. Maybe if you want a slightly better lance catcher, this guy could maybe be it. He does have a buckler. He does have a mace that hits hard enough to actually have a chance of hurting something. And the sticks and stones gives him something to do when he otherwise couldn't be in combat. They're okay, not great. Next up, we have the Vanara Archer. These are more of like the civilized monkeys. They now have gear. These are more of like the wild monkeys. The Vanara Archer, very similar to the first one, but now we have equipped ourselves. So 8 gold, 14 resources, 5 recruitment points. Now, 14 resources for essentially the same bow, 10 attack and 11 damage compared to here, 10 attack, 11 damage. I don't know if that's ever worthwhile. I think I would rather have at 3 resources, so we'd get what? 4, almost 5 of the previous one if we're resource constrained to get 1 of these. I don't find these guys very worthwhile. At least they're accurate. Their damage is better than a markata, but I don't think that putting this heavy gear on a short bow in middle age is going to pay off for you. I will note they have 9 morale, so that is a pretty nice bonus. They won't run as soon. But otherwise, I'm not too in love with that chassis. Next up, we have Vanara Chakram Throwers. An interesting one. Chakram are, I would say, vaguely like a javelin. You get 2 ammo. Their range is their strength. So range 10, 14 slashing damage, and they wield a mace. These are okay. I don't mind these guys. I don't know if I would ever purposely get these. Like, I'm trying to imagine, why would I need a slashing javelin? And I can't really come up with much. I guess slashing would be better to throw at barbarians than piercing, because the barbarians aren't going to be particularly armored anyways, so you'll get the extra slash damage. I guess that's the use case there. They have our better armor, which is scale mail hauberk and the iron cap. This is okay gear. I would consider this like medium infantry in middle age. These would be quite nice if these were in early age. Otherwise, basic stats that we've been looking at, nothing too great yet. Next up, we have the Vanara Infantry and the Vanara Swordsman. Very similar units here. The Infantry, 8 gold, 14 resources, 5 recruitment points, wielding a mace that deals 16 damage, the 9 morale. He has added a buckler to the equipment of the previous guy. So overall, This isn't too bad. 17 head protection, 14 on the body, and we do have a buckler for 14 protection. This is acceptable. I generally don't get these guys, though. I like the Bandar troops more than I like these guys. You could try to do something where, like, you mix the two together, but it's pretty hard to do. We don't have an easy way to do that. Yeah, these are okay. Again, 14 resources for this. I don't know. I almost would say I would rather have the naked dude as sticks and stones. Put these as your second row of infantry. They can throw some sticks and stones, and then when some guys in the front die, they can filter in. They do the 10 attack, 16 damage, the same as this guy, and they just do it for so much cheaper. So much cheaper. The swordsman has a similar problem, although for the swordsman, his morale is now up to 10, so we're back to like basic human morale. That's actually kind of a big deal. I like that a lot compared to the other chassis. He's also using a falchion. Falchions are really good weapons, and he's better at it. 11 attack for 18 slashing is very respectable. 16 damage is kind of my go-to. Like, the armor of the age, in my mind, amalgamated all together is 16 protection. So we have a better than even chance of generally getting through armor. I think if I'm going to get one of these guys, this is what I'm leaning towards. For 3 more resources, we get that falchion. I think in this case, that is worthwhile. An okay troop. Moving on to the Bandar. These are more what I actually like. Now, the downside to Bandar is their size 4. So you're only going to get 2 of these per square. However, going from essentially human stats on these up to a Bandar with almost double HP, I tend to like these. They also can form wider lines, keeping the archers behind you safe and the mages behind you safe. So that's my thought process on those, at least. Starting in, we have 2 varieties of archers for Bandar. We have the light Bandar archer and the Bandar archer. The light one, again, comes in with no armor whatsoever. Now, again, generally that's not a good thing. Like, we'd prefer to have like maybe 10 protection to protect us from short bows, but 16 gold, 6 resources, 8 recruitment points. These are dirt cheap for resources. You can pour these guys out of a fort. What do you get? 18 HP. 18 HP is high enough that there's a chance we can take a shot or maybe even 2 and not die. So that's a big benefit. Additionally, 15 strength means that our longbow at 45 range, yeah, we're a little inaccurate with it, but we can have a lot of these guys, does 16 piercing damage. Again, 16 is kind of the magic number for me, so I actually like these quite a bit. In addition, they come in with a length 1 mace that they're really good with. 11 attack for 21 blunt damage. That is pretty nice, actually. So if you get flanked, yeah, these guys are going to die, but as they're slaughtering their way through your line, 21 damage, you're going to get some kills on whatever made it back to you. Unless they're like an elf unit and we just cannot hit them, that's not bad. In addition, 12 morale. So they're going to stand and fight for a decent time compared to our other troops. So if I'm not getting into major duels, or I'm getting into major archery duels and the enemy has high quality troops that I cannot match, I would rather just have 100 of these guys rather than a few of the next one and just try to fight in the shade underneath my own archer fire. If I do want a more elite archer, the Bandar archer is pretty good, actually. 16 gold, 21 resources, 8 recruitment points. So now we're paying a bit of a premium here. Got the same HP, same strength, same basic stats. The 12 morale again, very nice. Same weapon that we were using before for both mace and longbow. But now we have put on our scale mail hauberk and our iron cap. These guys can be very interesting. Because they're longbowmen, they will stand still very nicely to be buffed up. A couple of these guys in a nice line, holding still. You could temper armor. You could strength of giant. You could put whatever protection buff you have on them, maybe make them ethereal, maybe give them the poison weapons, either as a center of your army or maybe just on the flanks. Maybe put a few markata screens in front to catch the lances, and then these guys can shoot into those while those are dying. And then when the cavalry comes up to you, we have okay protection and we have a good smashy mace to kill off whatever got to us. I like heavily armored longbow or great bow troops quite a lot, actually. I think these guys are quite snazzy. Bandar warrior This guy is the Iron Cudgel variety. 16 gold, 18 resources, 8 recruitment points. We have the general Bandar stats. The same 12 morale. Note, we are still on that 8 magic resistance. This just doesn't get better for us. Magic is always going to be a weak point for us. The Iron Cudgel is a two-hander. It's length 2, so you can get some repels on some of the shorter weapons. 11 attack for 26 damage. Now, 11 attack, 26 damage versus 11 for 21. If you don't need that extra damage, I think the buckler actually wins out. If you did need the slightly higher for like really heavy troops, or if you're going to give them strength of giants, because it's a two-hander, you get more strength out of that. Two-handed weapons add an extra 25% of the unit strength when adding strength to damage values. So you actually could get probably up to about 30, I think, if you put strength of giants on these guys. So if you need to bash up a monolith or something, these guys are actually pretty good at that. It is scary to go into these. In addition, maybe you're fighting something that you can repel. That was where this would come in handy, is repelling with the length 2. Otherwise, I think this is a bit of a specialty troop. Next up, we have the Bandar Warrior and the Light Bandar Warrior. We'll look at the light one first. The light one is 16 gold, 11 resources, 8 recruitment points. He has a mace. He wields sticks and stones. Now, sticks and stones on a Bandar is actually a big step up because it's range 15. Yeah, they're not good at it, but you throw 2 every attack. So it's like a shotgun attack. Weak individually, but high amounts. And it hits for 12 blunt. So lightly armored troops that don't have helmets or shields, you can actually do a lot of damage with these guys. In addition, it gives them something to do when they're not in melee. And don't underestimate that. Having 2 or 3 rows of infantry that's just standing around, the only benefit you're getting there is that they're not tiring themselves out. Meanwhile, these guys could be throwing some damage into the mix, and who knows, maybe you get lucky and kill a mage or something just from a weird deviation. They are wearing our scale mail cuirass, and they have a buckler. Notably here, no helmet. Overall, I actually like these guys. If you're fighting things that don't have tons of ranged attacks, this is, again, that 11 attack, 21 damage mace on a relatively cheap chassis, high base stats, decent protection, as long as you're not too worried about arrow fire. I think they're okay. Again, a good second line type troops. If we look at our Bandar Warrior standard, this guy gives up his sticks and stones attack. As a line troop, I do like these guys. 16 gold, 18 resources, 8 recruitment points. That's fine. 12 morale's fine. We have the scale mail hauberk, the iron cap, and a buckler. So I would say these guys overall are they're close enough to the average middle-aged troop. 15 body protection, 18 on the head. They do have a buckler, so not the best shield ever, but not the worst either. And that nice length 1 mace for just squishing people. These are okay. If I'm gonna get under fire or I just really want the nice strong stiff line, these are better than the light ones for sure. Finally, we have the Royal Swordsman. If you really want your elite troops, these guys are it. 21 gold, 22 resources, 19 recruitment points. A little bit of a premium here. However, we're up to 20 HP and 16 strength. So double human HP. We have 15 protection. We're in the same gear as the other guy, but we've traded out the mace for a falchion. I really like falchions. I keep saying that. He is just better trained for the extra attack, but 24 slashing damage, generally speaking, all things equal, slashing is better than blunt damage since it does extra damage once you've broken through protection, whereas the blunt just does bonus damage to head hits. So overall, I like falchions more. So that's that. He also has bodyguard 2, so he's a decent bodyguard. This is not bad. If you can afford these guys, I would have these as my center line, generally speaking. Unless they're getting super repelled, or really that's it. Unless they're getting super repelled, I think this is probably your best line troop. Next up, we have an elephant rider. We get the driver, 2 archers, and the war elephant. Do note the elephant only has 6 magic resistance and 9 morale. Does have a pretty nasty attack with a tusk, and of course is a trampler. The rider himself has a junky melee attack, and his 2 archers are the Atava archers with the short bows. Overall, I do think these are usable, especially early on if you're not having people target your elephants with magic. Having the addition of some archers is nice because they can shoot while your elephant moves. That gives them something to do. A small group of elephants, either as shock troops down the middle or as maybe flankers, can do a lot of work for you. Do note we have easy access to Body Ethereal, but Body Ethereal also nerfs trampling quite a bit, so you have to kind of weigh your options there. Overall, high risk, high skill needed, but a very useful tool if you're good at it. Just be ready to abandon elephants once they can start really targeting your magic resist. And because you're a monkey nation, most people, if they have to fight you, are going to try to do that because they can just use it on all your other troops with your 8 magic resist on everything, or even 7 way down here. Horrible magic resist. Next up, we have our 2 different sacreds. Let's start with our Recruit Anywhere. This is a white one. He is in Atava. He has slightly better than human stats. 23 gold, 17 resources, 31 recruitment points. So a little on the pricey side for just essentially a human troop, but 12 morale. They actually have some magic resist at 11, so above average. That's pretty nice. They're wielding falchions, a weapon I quite like. I keep going on and on about. They're sacred, forest survival, animal, and they have reincarnation. Reincarnation's a weird one. Based on your XP and if you got kills or not, you can, if you die in your own dominion, become a candle. You could reincarnate as the same unit, or I believe you can reincarnate as a lower unit. I don't see too many people coming back to life. Generally, if I notice something, it's people becoming candles. So it's whatever. I'm not a huge fan, but it's also not horrible. The value indicates the maximum chance of a successful reincarnation. So I think that means 5%. It's kind of whatever, let's be honest. But you're going to spam these guys out anyways. They are sacred, so they can take our bless. They have protection of 14 on the body, 17 on the head with a buckler. So they're not horrible. This is essentially a human troop. If this was our only sacred, this would be pretty garbage. But because it's a sacred recruit anywhere, it's all right. And generally speaking, it can take the same buffs as what our good sacred can take. So whatever you take for them, these just benefit from. Speaking of better sacred, our cap only sacred is the Tiger Rider. This is our cap only. It is a white one. I think exactly the same, I want to say. Better defense, I think, because he is mounted. Yep. And he is on an armored sacred tiger. So he has cap barding, gives him 12 body protection and 19 head. That's exactly what every type of horse needs, is actual barding. The rider has the falchion, 13 attack. These are quite well trained. 13 attack, 16 defense is like low glamour elf type troop levels. That's pretty decent, actually. And the tiger is also sacred, and he has a bite and a claw attack at 13. So 13 attack, 17, 13 and 15, 13 and 19. That's a very, very blendery unit. And they're size 4. Now, white ones are size 3. So if we took a larger bless, that would hurt them because they would go down in density to just 2 per square instead of 3. If you don't care about that, Tiger Riders actually would like larger quite a bit because it will take the Tiger to size 5, so we can still have 2 per square while upping our strength and our HP quite decently and some map move. The Tiger himself does have the weakness of 6 magic resist, unfortunately. It's a shame that they don't have better. A hole you might want to patch up because, again, you're an animal and people are probably going to research anti-animal spells if they can against you. Food for thought there. The Tiger also has dark vision. That's rather nice that these guys are actually pretty good underground. And they're a smart mount, so they are more likely to go back to your forts so that you can get cheap recruitment. Overall, I like this a lot. This is far better than a lot of cavalry. Now, 12 body protection, I don't even know how to classify that. It's not a heavy cavalry, so I guess this is like medium cav. It's good. That's the classification. Good. I like these a lot. 3 attacks per sacred is great. They are not stupid expensive. 60 gold, 31 resources, 61 recruitment points. They're not cheap either, but for what you get, not bad at all. Having the smart mount means we're going to get a lot of these guys at discount. They have a good reincarnation chance. Who knows if that's useful or not. Overall, I like these guys a lot. They're going to be pretty dependent on what you take as your bless. Do remember, we also have a lot of sacred summons. So I do think we are a nation that wants a very strong bless, with so many things that can make use of it. Heroes, Commanders, and Prophet. For heroes, we only have one. We have Tathagata. He is a priest level 2 sacred. He has a 100% reincarnation chance. He is inspirational. He's a dominion spreader. This means he acts like he's a temple wherever he's at, or like your prophet or god. He just drops candles for you. And he is a dominion monster summoner. I've never gotten this guy. I have a feeling he probably summons in probably a Tava, but maybe Markata. Some sort of monkey he'll summon in for you. Overall, nothing stupendous here. He's cool. I'll give him that. I guess I would probably just use him for some free troops and free temple checks more than anything else. If you're going to send him into combat, make sure to give him some armor. For commanders, we have a whole slew here. First up, we have the Markata Scout. The Markata Scout is a dirt cheap 25 gold, 1 resource, 1 recruitment scout. That is one of the primos of the game, I would say, just for his cheapness. 60 stealth. He's also very stealthy compared to even some human ones. He has mountain survival, forest survival, and is an animal. Overall, great. You can spam these out. I wish he was from any forest. I don't think he is. Yeah, he's not from any forest, unfortunately. That would really, really help him out. Take him up to closer to Harpy level if that was the case. Next up, we have the Vanara Captain. This is a 75 leadership leader. That's pretty garbage, frankly. 50 gold, 17 resources, 1 recruitment point. He does come in with full gear, so at least he's geared up. Otherwise, not much to say. He's got 12 morale. He's whatever. We have the Atavi Chieftain. Now, he can be recruited in all forests. He is stealthy, so you could use this guy as a scout. However, he's less stealthy and he's almost twice, or actually he's more than twice as expensive as a Markata. So, I don't know. These guys' main role, I think, is leading your stealthy raider troops of other Atavi. How useful is that? Depends. It depends. If you have an enemy who's vulnerable to getting stealth attacked, a group of like Atavi infantry and some archers, maybe like 2 leaders, 1 leading a squad of each, could actually do some work. Next up, we have the Bandar Commander. This is our 100 leadership commander. Quite nice. 105 gold, 22 resources, 1 recruitment point. Comes in with a full set of our gear, including a falchion. These guys are fine. Having the nice gear and the falchion actually makes him safer than a lot of leaders. If human-ish things get to him, he can chop some fools down more than like a human commander could. Good HP, does have a buckler. These guys are totally fine. 100 leadership's fine. We would quite like to get some leadership items, or specifically some morale bonus items on our leadership if we could, but he's perfectly serviceable. Next up, we have the Bandar Noble. Now, he's a better leader, but he trades out a shield. So just note that. He has 150 leadership. That's +2 for 4 squads. The extra leadership definitely will help us out. We are kind of a high attrition type faction, and so the extra morale is very noticeable. 160 gold, 19 resources, 2 recruitment points. Does have a battle axe, 2 length, 13 attack, 29 slashing damage. So pretty darn spooky there. I think this guy's totally fine. I would prefer to get this guy if I can afford it because I want the leadership. Next up, we have the Brahmin. The Brahmin is our priest level 1. He is sacred. He's got our standard traits otherwise, equipped with only a mace. This is one of our big problems. We have tons of sacreds to bless, and we probably took a really good blessing, and our best priest, at least without summoning, is only priest level 1. That hurts. That hurts a lot. It is really hard to bless large groups of our sacreds with these guys. You're going to need a lot of them. You're going to have other things you would prefer to be recruiting, so it always feels bad to recruit a priest level 1. It's a real big shame that we can't get a communion to get blesses off, at least not easily. Next up, we have the Yogi. Very efficient mage here. 80 gold, 1 resource, 2 recruitment points. I will also note, none of these guys are like recruit anywheres or anything. These are full infrastructure needed. The Yogi himself is an Astral 1. He comes in with 7 research. He is sacred. Has our standard traits otherwise. 10 leadership. Only 7 morale. So these guys are actually pretty skittish. They will run away pretty early from fights. That can be good. That can be really bad. Notable here, 32 gold per year upkeep. These are dirt cheap, guys. So we're getting 7 research for 32 per year. And if we can up that with some magic scales or some inspirational researcher, very, very efficient research. And we can get these guys from any of our forts. We do need to have the lab and the temple, so that's a bit of an ouch. It would sure be nice. I don't know. These guys really do need to be sacred, so you couldn't really wipe that off. So it is what it is. You're never gonna have enough of them. You're always gonna want more. Next up, we have the Guru. He is 225 gold, so a big step up in price. That's like 3 times as much as a Yogi. What do you get? Well, you get Astral 2, Nature 1, 11 research for 90 per year. So while the other guy is more efficient, this guy is faster but still efficient. Having the Astral 2 means you can mind burn just right off the go. You don't have to build any communions or anything. He can just start mind burning. That's a big deal, actually. That's pretty nice. If you're fighting someone like Ermor, who has lots of mindless troops, you can just snipe out his leadership if he doesn't bring anything else that is not mindless to the fights. Asphodel's another one that can suffer from that quite a bit. So keep an eye out for being able to just mind burn snipe enemy armies and just have everything else crumble. Beyond that, this does get you a way to get nature into a communion. If you were going to do that, having him cast personal regeneration would help your Yogi out if it gets to the point that they're going to burn out. Finally, we have the Rishi. This is our cap-only mage. He is very important. 445 gold is a steep price, and he is slow to recruit. And he's got lower than human stats. But 17 magic resistance. That's nice. 15 morale. 178 upkeep per year for 17 is almost efficient, although slow to recruit kind of ruins that. Why do we care about these guys? First off, Astral Magic level 3 is good enough to just drop anti-magic turn 1. So you don't have to communion up and then do it. So if you have like an enemy god who's looking at doing a enslave of some sort, whether it's the animal variety or otherwise, we can get our anti-magic up first, which will greatly help us out resisting that. We also could do something like Light of the Northern Stars just right off the bat. So all of our other dudes could do like Body Ethereal, and then Light of the Northern Star goes off, and now they're all Astral level 2s, and now our cheap Yogi can all spam Mind Burn. That's pretty darn powerful, especially considering they're 80 gold a pop. You can have a lot of Yogi on the field. 10 guys spamming Mind Burn is pretty spooky. Is pretty darn spooky. In addition, we're guaranteed the Nature 2. That is for some, let's say, protection buffs from the Bark Skin line. Would be pretty handy. That could be our Envenom Arrows. That could be our Mass Eagle Eyes for extra precision. There's a lot of things that can help us out, and we can easily get communions to do it. Now, whether you want a Rishi to do those type of spells, or maybe you could get away with just using a a Guru, that depends. The other thing that's important here is our cross paths. For random, we can get water, earth, astral, and nature. The water and earth ones are needed for some of our summons. Can be pretty important, and in Astral 4 can be pretty important for us. Really good. We might need to make some boosters with these guys. The Astral Pearl item can be made by them, I believe. The Astral buffing stuff with a little bit of work can be gotten since we have the Earth and Astral cross-pathing. Very, very important. I do think you probably would like to spam these out of your capital if you can. If you can afford that, though, I don't know. I tend to find that I struggle with the economy here because we just have so many kind of expensive sacreds I'd like to be getting out too. I mean, let's say you're getting 5 of these guys per fort. That's going to be 115 gold for every single fort just for these guys. And the tigers, let's say you're getting 5 of those. That's another 300 right there. it adds up. It adds up pretty quickly. Who would I make my prophet? I think ideally, I would either go with a Bandar Noble or a Bandar Commander, or I would make one of our Holy Three Summons our prophet. Later in the game, if you've lost your prophet, you could get yourself a nice priest level 4 out of that, so you could do fanaticism, which would help out our low-ish morale troops quite a lot. So I think any of those would be pretty decent. National items and spells. For national items, we have 2 national items. Starting up, we have the Vajra. This is a very interesting item. It's construction 5, one-hander. What it gives you is 10 shock resistance and lets you cast the spell Lightning Bolt. Why is that interesting? Well, lightning's okay, but it allows anyone to do that. So we could have our normal commanders just have a lightning bolt spell that they can cast rather than standing in the back. We don't have ranged weapons on our commanders, so they tend to just stand there and not really have anything to do. This would allow them to cast some okay spells. In addition, it is a piercing magic weapon that has an extra effect on hit of shock, and that's 8 armor negating. Overall, this is an okay item. It is length 0, so I don't know if you'd want to thug with something like that, but this is okay. Do I ever make these? No, because astral pulls have better uses for us, but it's still interesting. Our second item is the Headdress of the Bull. This is a interesting one. It gives you a helmet, which a lot of our mages do not have. They're not ungeared. Gives us a buffalo as a retinue. It only costs a Nature 1 mage 5 gems to cast and 8 head protection. Overall, I don't hate it. I like buffalo, actually. That's one of my favorite animal chassis. But would I take that over just making a Cathartic lion pelt? Yeah, it costs a little bit of earth gems, but it gives us 18 invulnerability and 4 hit points compared to 8 protection on the head only of the other item. I don't know about that one. Other items while we're here, I think the big one for us is going to be research items. We have nature income, so we can do homunculi. We do have some rare glamour. If you had some that had nothing to do, dreamstones could be pretty decent. We have some summons that can bring us some air. If I did get that, I don't think alquills would be a bad idea. We are a nation that needs a lot of research, so any of those things would be fine. We also have a bit of a hankering for some blood. So if you did take some blood, maybe an imp familiar even might be worthwhile. Gives you a shadow imp as your retinue and a research bonus. Maybe dump these onto some yogi that are researching, and then if they have to go into combat, that gives you a free shadow imp. That could be a thing. That could be a thing. Beyond that, I do think there's the... Oh, I'm gonna flop here. It's the pearl item. Well, Moonvine Bracelet also is something that we can do with some work. We would definitely have to do some empowering or whatever, but it does give you extra nature magic. Clam of Pearls. Water magic, which we can get randomly, and nature magic, which we can get on our Rishi. So this would be who would be crafting these. Gives you 2 temporary astral gems. That's really nice. That lets us cast some bigger astral stuff for cheap, and can be pretty handy not having to ferry those around, especially considering astral pearls are kind of at a premium for us. And if you're doing that, let's say 2 or 3 times every combat, you're casting some big buff like Light of the North Star, it can add up. And that's just a way that we can knock that price back a little bit. Otherwise, things that might be interesting would be the communion items or the astral buffing items. So like the Starshine Cap, this requires you to have astral magic level 2, and you could just get an extra astral magic. So we can just make these quite nice. That means natively, with just this, we could get ourselves up to an astral 4 with a lucky mage. Now that does take construction 7, do note. For magic, we have a lot of magic. A good portion of it is all in conjuration. We have essentially everything that Kailasa had. We have everything that Lanka had. And we have some of the stuff that Patala has, which will be our late age incarnation. So we have an absolutely humongous list, possibly the biggest in the game. What I'm going to do is down in the description of this video, I'm going to link you to the Kailasa and to the Lanka videos for their magic section, since I go point by point. In this one, I'm just going to call out some of my favorite ones and maybe say a thing or two about them rather than covering everybody. I will note, I've reported them as missing, but as of right now, we are missing the Patala summons on the Nations mod to show them. So let's go down the list here. Conjuration 2, we get Host of Ghana. If you have Death Magic somehow, these are really nice ethereal troops. At 3, our new spell here is Summon Naga. Again, hard to do natively, but if you can get there, these give you 9 Naga troops for 15 water gems. They're not bad. They have a ranged spit attack and a hypnotize attack. They're armored and have decent melee attacks. You could do a lot worse than that for spending water gems. Elephants, tigers, and buffalo. Tigers if you need to go underground because they have some dark vision. Buffalo, generically. I don't know if you want to spend any nature gems here because we have better mages we could summon with those. Going up to 4, we have Nagini. This is another one of the Naga troops from Patala. This gives you an actual commander, and it has, I believe it's water, nature, earth, and glamour. So a nice mage. Helps us get some glamour. Can summon in the earlier Nagas. So another mage that could do that for you. Also, the Yaksha and the Yakshini. These are probably what I would want to spend my nature gems on. These are the cap-only mages from early age as summons. And we can natively do this with Rishi. We just need to roll into either the earth or the water. The Yakshi are nice because they can do the Naga summons specifically. And the Yaksha are nice because they are Earth 3 basic. So you can do lots of Earth buffing with them. At 5, we have the final Naga spell, the Nagaraja. These are an even better mage, Naga mage. Quite good. We also have the Gandharvas. These are I believe, the flying heavy infantry that we used in early age Kailasa stream to good effect. Very strong. As you can see here, just tons and tons and tons more. I think the big one is probably the Siddha. I think this is our first Holy 3. And if you can get here, this simplifies blessing your armies infinitely, and you will no longer require those priest level 1s to be with your army. Whereas before you needed like 5 or 10 of them, now you need 0 of them, and you can just have the Siddha bless your entire thing. Note, 35 astral pearls, 15. We're never going to have enough astral pearls. The longer we can hold out and the higher tier troops we can get, the happier we are going to be. In addition to that, we have some other national spells. We have our blood spells. These are going to be the Lankan troops, and I believe they have everything. The Feast of Flesh, they have the Rakshas, the Asparas, the Rakshasa warriors. These are pretty nice. The assassins. Again, I will put the link down in the description if you want to see them. We are a nation that is very tempted to try to get some blood, but we have 0 of it natively. If you can get in here and break in, it could be quite powerful. Maybe consider taking some blood on your pretender as a way to do that. In addition to all of those, we also have a spell in Thaumaturgy. At Thaumaturgy 6, we have the Celestial Music. Celestial Music is essentially all of our gods. No, I take that back. Only our summons who are magical beings are affected by this. This is most of our non-demons will get this, and it is a battlefield-wide quickness. Very powerful. We can do the summon. I think it's like Conj 8 that auto-casts this, but this isn't as good as it was in early age. Reason being, our recruitable sacreds are not magic beings, so they will not benefit from this, unlike in early age. I don't know if I would go for this. Thaumaturgy is a line that we might want to go down, so if I got it, that would totally be fine. I mean, we could definitely use it. I mean, there's stuff in here we might want to go for, but I don't think I would beeline this, because in order to use this, you would need to have some celestial summons, which means you've already gone deep down conjuration. I feel like this is a much later game thing for middle age. Beyond all of that, we are a nation that likes buffing, so alteration is a place that we are probably going to be. Getting the big Cat Eye Warriors for going underground, or Eagle Eyed Warriors for our archers. This can give them the precision buff. We also can do all of the astral stuff like control or rewrite fate. The nature wooden warrior line is pretty nice. We would definitely enjoy that. Evocation, one of our weaker ones. I don't know if I would really get this. Maybe a couple levels just so nature has something to cast, but I don't know if I want to even let them do that. I might just try to avoid this unless I wanted to get these. Starfires isn't the worst. You get 3 attacks that do 5+ magic damage and it's armor negating. That's okay. We also get Arcane Bolt. Really good if you're fighting magical beings. That's a way that we can really blast them out for cheap. Solar Rays, if you have to fight undead, this can be a godsend. Light of the Northern Star, and every yogi can spam this, and it's AoE 1 for 14+ damage. That's armor piercing. So anti-undead to the max. Magic Duel. This is probably one of the best nations to do magic duels on. You can recruit a yogi for 80 gold, give him 1 astral pearl, and put a god into a magic duel. So each mage rolls 1d6, not open-ended, and adds his unmodified astral level. So we would be 1 plus 1d6 versus whatever the enemy is. So if somebody took a god and they took 1 or 2 astral, I would totally equip 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 yogis and try to magic duel them. And if they die, if you lose the roll, you die. If you tie, we both die. So very, very good. Sooner or later, you'll just hit that and kill them. And especially if they're the only astral mage on the field, you have nobody else you can hit. So you're definitely hitting them. In construction, as previously mentioned, there's some boosters we would sure like, and some generic gear. We also could thug some of our summons. That could be pretty handy. Enchant, this could be good. We have Strength of Giants, would be quite appreciated by a lot of our troops. We also could do Earthshatter Hammers or Weapons of Sharpness. This would help our guys get through some of the heavier armor. Beyond that, though, we don't have a lot of elemental magic, so this would mainly just be the nature stuff. This is where we have some of the nature things. This is animal mounts, so we could buff our elephants with morale and magic resist. They would quite like that. Heals, regenerations aren't terrible. Astral healing isn't the worst. This does give you a heal 2 entire battlefield. One of these scripted at like maybe round 3 and then another at round 5 could help you out, especially if you're using the Bandar troops. This could keep them going because they might survive and actually have wounds to be healed. Of course, the poison arrow buffs are here too. That also could be pretty usable. Group regeneration. Again, Bandar troops, I think, live long enough that regen is actually interesting for them. As we go higher and higher, though, remember, we're only getting Nature 3 natively, so we're getting to stuff that's pretty hard. We could do a Foul Vapor play. That could be pretty tricksy. We could have a Nature 2 Water 1 Rishi in a Communion, and he could Foul Vapor. That's kind of a I'm taking you with me type situation, but maybe you could wipe out an entire like Olmish army or something. Definitely could be worthwhile. Thaumaturgy, of course, has our Communions and Mind Burn. In addition, Paralyze, Teleport, Soul Slay. Soul Slay is pretty darn strong. It's only 20 fatigue for a Astral 3, which all of our Rishi will be. We could easily drop them in even a tiny Communion. So let's say 2 guys. That takes them up to 4, so the fatigue is now down to 10. And then you split that 10 amongst yourself and the Communion slaves. So you could spam this forever. Could be quite powerful. Celestial Music, as previously mentioned, we can easily do Enslaved Mind and the bigger versions of that. Master and Slave requires Astral 8. If you have a Rishi at 4 and you give him a helmet, he's now at 5. He's already at 5. That means you only need 8 yogis in a Communion to be able to cast Master and Slave. And this is an entire battlefield, and you just do an enslave. Magic resistance easily negates, but let's say you cast it 2 or 3 times, you could have yourself an entirely free army. Could be pretty darn good. As mentioned, we can't natively do blood, but we would sure like to get into it, and all the normal blood stuff applies. Let's take a look at all of these ridiculous summons. This is the Kailasa branch. I think the most notable ones here, the Garuda, very, very scary. Falchion and a kick, so they have 2 attacks. They come in with awe, they are flying, and they are wearing a plate halberd. This is a heavy flying infantry. Size 5, so you get 2 of them per square. Still have good attack density. Very, very nice there. Other ones to look out for. The Grandhava. These aren't bad. These are like the early era guys. They have the plate mail on. They're kind of a precursor to the flying ones, but you can get them earlier, obviously, and a bit cheaper. What other ones do I like? Here is some air magic, if you would like to get that on the Vidihara. Could be pretty good there. We could get better air magic and a priest level 2 if you want to pull in a Kinara. These are the nature mages, the Yaksha and the Yakshini. This is, I believe, Conjuration 4, I want to say. Very good. I definitely would want to get these, especially the Yakshini, because we could get her plus a random earth would allow her to summon in the Naga. And then that opens us up using water gems to summon in mages and troops. And pretty good ones, actually. Beyond those, yeah. The Siddha, this guy's ridiculous. He can teleport anywhere within 100 on the map and is a priest level 3 and has air and astral. Very, very strong. You could easily communion up and cast like Fog Warriors on your entire army and Divine Bless. Super duper useful there. The Devata, another Holy 3, but now we're getting very expensive. On the blood side of things, I mean, they're all ridiculous. They're all good. I think the early stuff, the Saman Ishada, gives you an assassin that we otherwise wouldn't have. That could be good. He does have dark power, does have chaos power, which we might be going to order, so that could be a bit of a pain there, but you're probably assassinating people outside of your own dominion, so that would be fine. Other things of note, the Mandhera gives a auto cast of darkness. I don't know if you want that because we don't have dark vision on most of our troops, but you could surprise somebody with that. Maybe you just took low light vision on your bless. This would be super duper late game, but it could be a thing. Rakshasa or Rakshasa warriors are actually pretty good. Again, watch out for that chaos power though. I'm not sure if that's really going to be good for you. I'm trying to remember who our earliest blood hunter might be. Here's the Ghana. These are those nice spectral troops. All you need is a Death 1 mage. You could summon those. I quite would like to use those. Yeah, we don't even have good blood access here. Not at all. Yeah, I think if you're going to do it, you're going to have to do it on your god, and you're probably looking at vamp summoning or empowering somebody. Empowering might have to be the way you go, because we're not getting all the way to him to start in on that. Not shown here are the Naga troops that I previously mentioned. They are pretty good. I'll see if we can get those on stream, and I'll show those off for everyone. Okay, let's bring it all together. Bandar Log is a nation that has combined Kailasa and Lanka from the early age, mostly pulling in from Kailasa, but maintaining those very strong blood summons. We are a nation that has recruit anywhere sacreds that are not complete trash, and we have a pretty decent recruitable cap-only sacred. We have very focused mages, but they're good at what they do, which is mainly astral and a little bit of nature. But we can summon in things that expand that to earth and water, a little bit of glamour, a little bit of air. We quite suffered to get our bless out until we get high in conjuration and can summon in some holy 3s. That hurts a lot. We have a little bit of recruit forest units, which can help bolster you up if you just need some numbers. Our troops are decent, but have a distinct weakness as low magic resist animals, something that a human especially will definitely like to try to take advantage of. We have pretty efficient research, but we need a lot. We need a lot. We want to go high in conjuration, high in thaumaturgy, high in alteration, pretty far in construction. We may want to go up enchantment. We may want to go up in blood. More research, good. More research, better. That's all I can say about that. Because we also only have priest level 1s, Dominion can be a little bit tricky. Don't fall behind on that. I think taking a strong Dominion score is good on this nation since we have Recruit Anywhere Sacreds that are as good or better depending on your bless than any other troop we could be getting otherwise. Being able to pull 5 or 6 white ones in from a fort is quite nice if you can do it. I'm poor on this turn, so can't click anymore, but you can see that this is not the worst troop in the world. And again, just depending on what your bless is, this could actually be a pretty spooky little troop for 23 gold and 17 resources. Overall, I think we need lots of magic. We need some okay economy. We are not the best expanders, but we're not the worst. So I could see an awake expander with some kind of bless that still helps you out working. I also could see the opposite, a hell bless or an imprisoned rainbow. I think you can kind of do the gambit in this one of whatever you find most interesting. Let's go take a look at some pretenders. Bandar Log has the Indian type pretenders. Not the most, not the least. However, definitely on the lower end of useful stuff. We have Dominion ones. We have 2 special ones. We have the Marashini, who is 70 points. That is notable for being just dirt cheap. He is a researcher. He has Farcaster, and that is about it. We have the Sheer NGV at 170 points. I think he is grossly overpriced. What does he do? Well, he actually has Disruptive Researcher, so he hurts your mages, so you want to keep him out of your research areas. He summons in, I believe these are Bandars, and he has Dominion Immortality. That's his big claim to fame. Now, what are you going to do with that, though? I don't know. I think that's a chassis. He might be an awake expander. Not that he's expanding himself. He probably has to go with your troops, but maybe he's awake with Ethereal Bless since they can't kill him. He is a really good leader, so he leads your main army, staying away from your forts so he doesn't disrupt them. And while he's leading your main army and giving you, I don't know, ethereal and magic weapons or something, or ethereal and solar weapons or something like that. It could be interesting. I mean, he's like King Kong, basically. He's size 6. Moving up to Dominion 2, we have the Bodhisattva of Mercy at 250 points. Has healer, something that we don't have access to normally. That's something. Does bring in some glamour, does bring in astral. Otherwise, yeah, I'm not really feeling that. We have the old reliable Dave, the old reliable Earth Snake. We have the Great White Bull. That could be all right. If you're gonna go like, he can't use larger himself, unfortunately. But maybe hard skin. I don't know if I love hard skin for our sacreds, but maybe hard skin regen, something like that. Maybe the worm, another possible awake expander, could be a thing. You could go with a dragon here, but I don't see a lot of synergies beyond they fly. The Solar Eagle, this could be an interesting one because you could come in and do Wind Guide and Fire Arrows. Maybe he comes in at Dormant. All right, so you have some time to rush up Enchantment. That'd be a little bit of a surprise for people. And then he can do Fire Arrows and Wind Guide in a first war with our decent mages. And then switch tactics, so you have an army that gets his support, and then your other armies are doing something else. So people don't know which army necessarily they have to gear up and fight, since he can fly between them. Another one of ours, the Great Siddha at 130 points. Interesting in that they have that teleport 100. This is very nice for claiming thrones. Does bring up our magic limit by +1. We would like magic 3 if we could afford it. Coming in with astral and air, I could see this if you wanted to go with a relatively light bless, something like air shield maybe, requires 6 air. And then Maybe magic weapons on top of that. We need one more point. Yeah, something like that. Those are both incarnate only. I don't know if I would do that. Maybe they come in dormant because we're going to want to do Magic 3 if we get this chassis. Get a point there. I don't hate that. That could be pretty playable. We kind of struggle bus our initial expansion. This comes out, gives our Sacred's air shield and magic weapons. Definitely could be better. I think you could come up with a better bless for this. This is playable. Be okay. Moving up to the Titans. Naori, it does have Bringer of Fortune 15. 15% chance to have a good event happen. Does up our fortune scale if you wanted to do a Fortune 3 build of some sort. Has Glamour, has Earth, has Astral. The problem here, again, is just as so many other ones, 240 points is just so expensive. Yeah, I just don't know about that. Now, these are some interesting ones. Blood. Blood is kind of interesting to us. You could go with something like this. We could go probably Hard Skin, and then Enchanted Blood and Blood Surge. Does that put me at -5? And then we'd have to dump. We probably couldn't afford quite that much. Probably drop Enchanted Blood, which lets us take these down. That's just really expensive. 150. We need some amount of Dominion. I would really like to have some magic. I don't know. Some amount of scales here. 5 Dominion might be a little low. Maybe we drop one of those. That lets us get 7. That's exactly 0. This would be okay. I don't love Hard Skin for our Sacreds, but it's not terrible either. Blood Surge is really good for our Tigers. And this right here, pretty spooky coming out dormant, although it would be better awake, frankly. Beyond that, again, same kind of idea here. Maybe this is an Air Shield Blood Surge guy or something like that. Devi of Strength, Regen, and Solar Weapons, maybe. Something like that, possibly. Moving up to the Dominion 4s. Monolith. Monolith is pretty good for bringing out some pretty hefty blesses. And we also have the Blood Fountain. A very nice Blood Hunter. If you want to, like, for sure break into blood, this is probably the guy to do it. We could take Vampiric Weapons, maybe. In fact, let's look at one of those. Maybe we take the new improved Vampiric Weapons. So we're going to need a ton here. I think that needs some death. Need death 4. Man, these are just so bloody expensive still. So Vampiric Weapons, and I don't know, maybe that's it, or maybe we try to squeeze in like Stygian Flesh. We are still under that. Yeah, probably not. We take Vampiric Weapons. This is awake. Maybe we drop that to like a dormant so we can actually have some scales of some sort. But this for sure breaks you into blood. This Oracle could get you a relatively cheap quickness. Another awesome chest here. Let's take a look at what I made. This is Sanguine Grace, the Oracle. This is using the Fountain, of course. This comes in as a dormant, brings us quickness, Enchanted Blood, and Blood Surge. The Enchanted Blood is really nice because it gives our Tigers +1. That at least takes them up to a 7. And then hopefully we can get Anti-Magic out and help them out there. Gives us a little bit of regen on them as they're fighting. And with quickness, they are really, really hard to deal with. They already have pretty decent defense, and now the quickness on top of that. In addition, 3 attacks at 13 now become 3 attacks at 15 with their attack bonus and double. So now we have 6 attacks at 15 each. One's a falchion, one's a bite and a claw, and Blood Surge. That's an attack that's going to get kills, proccing Blood Surge. So now we're attacking 6 attacks at 18, and with the extra strength and more defense and some regeneration, these turn your Tigers into blenders. In addition, this is fine for our white ones. The Enchanted Blood is probably not needed for them, but the Blood Surge is nice for them, and Quickness at least gives them 2 attacks rather than 1. I like this quite a bit. is noticeable when you don't have the quickness, but Enchanted Blood and Blood Surge is good enough to get you started for that first year while you're waiting. In addition, this does get us a decent amount of glamour, something that we don't have much of. We have like glamour 1 or maybe 2 on some of the Nagas, so we're going to struggle to do glamour things. This allows us to cast some glamour stuff. We also have the blood, so if we did decide to try to break into blood, we can have our fountain here, blood hunt, and then we can empower other people to take over the blood hunting. Water 9 lets us cast whatever we want from there. We can use that to get underwater if we want. It would be difficult for us to get a water 3 down there to do bishop fish, but not impossible. I think we can get Yakshini at 2, and then we can craft a robe, and that would get her up to 3, and then she could summon bishop fish. So that's another way we could get holy level 3s earlier than we could with our native summons. In addition, those would use water gems instead of astral gems, allowing us to put the astral gems into troops rather than blessers. Overall, I really like this in my testing. Do note, kind of misery scales here, unfortunately. We went Misfortune 2, Magic 2. We went down 1 heat. We prefer heat 2, but this gives us points. We took a little bit of sloth. This was okay. Not the best, not the worst. Yeah, I quite like this one. I like this bless. It's, for me, a pretty heavy bless. I tend to bless relatively lightly, and I think this is a good mix between incarnate and non-incarnate blesses, and they really kick up the tigers to something crazy. Also, a lot of our summons would quite like this. If you do go blood, Enchanted Blood helps the demons a lot because of the magic resist. Blood Surge is just generally good, as is quickness. Our flyers that have 2 attacks and heavy plate mail, yeah, now they have quickness, just so you know. And between quickness and Blood Surge, that's 3 extra defense and 5 extra attack. Just such a killy bless. It's such a ridiculously killy bless. And with a little bit of defense thrown in from the Enchanted Blood. So I quite like Sanguine Grace here. This will probably be what I go with, but let me know in the comments what gods you've come up with. Again, I know I got a lot of flack in Kailasa for not taking Air Shield. I think it's less needed here because we are not using bare-chested warriors, but I definitely could see the value. Crossbows are going to make our sacreds very sad, so I could see the value in getting that. But Awake Expanders could be interesting if you know some, or maybe you just have like a full imprisoned, I don't know, you take like larger and other things that don't require to be blessed. That could be pretty nice because we suck at blessing. So things that we don't need to actually put blesses on people for, just automatically happen, could be quite nice for us. Could be very useful. All right, in conclusion, Kailasa is a very fun nation that combines the best of Kailasa and Lanka, although minus the undead spam of Lanka, with some decent, interesting troops that have a pretty distinct weakness. We have a pretty good variety of troops between some decent line troops, some decent archers, some elephant play. We have a tiger cavalry. That's really cool. We have lots and lots of summons. We have decent gem income in the 2 that we want the most, being nature and astral. We have pretty powerful mages, although they are very specific in what they want to do, and we struggle to do elemental magic at all. Overall, I would say Bandar Log, kind of mid-tier-ish nation, but very fun. Top-tier fun. And it's nice just to play some non-human, non-super magical, like, not giants or one-eyed underground worm people, but monkey people. It's kind of cool. It's kind of different. I like them quite a lot. Post your comments down below. Any feedback, super tips, tricks. If I missed anything on the summons list, because they have more than any other nation, I think. They're pretty crazy. Other than that, I will see you guys on stream, and we will monkey around. All right, look forward to seeing you there, builders. Babble out.